and you're watching to the Black Eagles podcast, a Beşiktaş talk show.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru atışını kaybetti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Roma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet. Ve
Hello, Black Eagles. Welcome back to the Black Eagles podcast. Today is a great day. Today, guys, do you know what today is?
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's birthday.
Exactly, Kata.
Yeah!
It's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's birthday today. Happy
Should we
birthday,
sing it?
boss.
Should we sing it?
We should for sure.
Happy birthday
to you.
to you.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday
to
to
you. I
you.
thought we were gonna go into a for he's a jolly good fella, for he's a jolly good fella. So
We could have done that.
So happy birthday to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Happy birthday to our former player Pepe, who turns, I believe, 41 or 42. 40, I think
Yeah.
42 years old.
From 1983.
Yeah, 42 years old today to Pepe as well. Happy birthday, Pepe. And happy birthday, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And this is also the
Yeah.
first time, guys, that we are doing a live show as official YouTube partners. So congratulations to us.
Bam, bam, bam.
Exactly. So since we are YouTube partners now, guys, feel free to make use of the super chat, the super stickers, the super duper whoopers. You can join the channel as well if you want to support us other than subscribing, liking, commenting. Please do not feel obligated, but the option is there. It will give you some nice badges in the chat, in the live chat, and you can rank those up as you are a member. It's just 99 cents a month, so it's a very minimal. It's the lowest fee I could set for now. No major benefits to it. I will probably introduce a second rank in the future, where you will get like early access to videos and stuff like that. Same as our Patreon. But if you want early access to videos and you're not afraid of just making a Patreon account, go to patreon.com/businesspodcast. You get early access to videos. You get a VIP exclusive podcast and lots of extra bonus content. I will see about making a second rank on YouTube at some point, and then we can post some of that extra content on YouTube as well. But for all the extra content, you really need to go to Patreon, because there's just so much more freedom on Patreon for us to do stuff like, we can use some footage and stuff like that. On YouTube, it's much, much stricter. So there's just some limitations there. But enough of the sales pitch. Let's talk about the match the other day, guys. We played an important game in the Turkish Cup. It was an important match against Antalyaspor, a team we faced just a couple of weeks ago. A couple of weeks ago, it ended in a very disappointing 1-1 draw, despite taking a relatively late lead then through Rafa Silva header, believe it or not. But they equalized in the last 10 minutes. A bit of an unfortunate goal, and that match ended all square. But yesterday, we played them again, and we beat them this time around. Again, though, we take the lead, allow them to creep back into the match kind of out of nowhere. But this time we had the time to rectify it, and it's again Rafa Silva who got us the 3 points here in the cup. And also Keny Arroyo scoring his first goal in his first ever start for Beşiktaş. He only played 45 minutes though, got substituted at halftime. There were some changes at halftime. I had the impression it was more of a rotational choice by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
How many minutes had he played in that previous match? Like, not many, right?
Not that many, no. I think like 15 maybe?
I'm willing to call it a debut. A debut goal. I mean, I know it's a stretch on a technicality, but damn it, He deserves that.
Yeah, I
Um,
you know, I think
No, it was great.
I think that's
Yeah, it's still a goal in his first start, man. So it's still something to talk about.
definitely.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It was a good goal too, right? I mean,
It was a great goal. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, got to
Yeah.
credit Arthur Masuaku with the lovely
low
setup.
cross.
I mean-
Wow, a ball over the
I know
ground.
it's happening, man. Like we shouldn't like flog a dead horse here. Although this is alive. This horse is alive. That's sorry. I just made a weird expression even weirder. But I mean, it's worth noting how markedly different that is. You know, the crosses are coming in low. They're more dangerous, even if they're not precise. You know, it's that's night and day.
Yeah.
Clearly, the coaching staff has like bashed that into their heads. Here comes Sally with the freaking politics. Like, really? Right off the bat, man? We just started.
Sorry, Sinan will only answer that question if you send a message in super chat form.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
That's
Pay the big bucks.
I agree with
You get
that. If he super
I like
chats that
that.
question, Sina will give you like a 5-minute answer or something. You know, per euro you get a minute. You get a minute per euro.
There you go. Or you got to tune in for the Schwarting report. We'll charge you for that over there maybe. We don't want to pollute this airway with any of that. I will say this, Con. I thought that last week we were kind of doing a good job of streamlining how we approached our match analysis by looking at the lineup first and then using that as a way to discuss
Don't
individuals.
have any of that for the cup matches, unfortunately. No FOTMAP
All right, well,
data.
I mean,
no lineups.
I can still run through the lineup.
Yeah, you can learn to lineups. I just don't have the fancy graph, so you'll have to.
That's all right. Yeah, I didn't see any stats, which is a little concerning.
Strange.
Yeah, unfortunately, the group stages of the cup don't get like the FOTMAP treatment.
Saleh
I think it's 'cause
Kalkavan
of
super
the,
chatted
whoever
99
airs
cents.
it and
What is
compiles
this? We
it.
just got a super chat.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I don't know who sent it. Wait.
It's Sally, dude. It's freaking Sally. I can't. Oh my god. All right, let me start with their lineup. Antalya. Their goalkeeper is Kenan Piric, who is a Bosnian goalkeeper, 30 years old.
You're gonna have
I
to
didn't
answer
know.
this question now because it was
I
Sally.
know. We'll come back around to that. Let's talk about the match first, for the sake of our podcast. But yeah, I didn't know that Kenan Piric was Antalyaspor's keeper. I can't remember who I thought it was, but I didn't. I
Ruud
didn't
Boffin,
recognize
maybe?
that.
He was a
Yeah,
goalkeeper
exactly,
for
Ruud Boffin.
ages.
Forever.
Well, yeah, what happened to him? Did he retire or something?
I don't know. I feel like that should be. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna
There
look.
should be something. Yasin, get the rest podcast going. We need to have.
I need to look
to
this
have,
up because like he was always one of the better goalkeepers in the league. He played in the league for so many years. Like he was at Eskişehirspor for ages, and then when they went down, he ended up you know, at Antalya for years. Yeah.
He was like a mainstay, man. Like
He was.
that-
When he was at Eskişehirspor, he was. I thought he was legitimately one of the better goalkeepers in the league. And it looks like he retired. Yeah, that's not. Yeah. He's not even that old. He's 36, going on 30. No, wait, he's 37. Yeah, he's 37 years old. So that's. I mean, that's not that old for a goalkeeper. But yeah, we're going off topic a little bit now.
No, I mean, anyway, that like right out of the gates was like, who the hell is that? Like, anyway, on their back line, there is a 26-year-old Brazilian Thalisson, who played next to 22-year-old Kosovan Amar. I don't know how to pronounce this. Gerxhaliu. Gerxhaliu. My apologies to any Kosovans out there. That's a tough name to pronounce. The X really comes out of nowhere. Anyway, right back, Mert Yilmaz, 25-year-old Turk, playing opposite Abdurrahim Dursun, 26-year-old Turk. In the back of their midfield, Erdal Rakip, 29-year-old Moldovan, who played next to 26-year-old Ukrainian Oleksandr Petrusenko. I'm seeing a lot of Ukrainian names in the Super League lately. I suppose. I mean, it
Yeah.
makes sense, obviously. Why Ukraine would be leaving their own league.
Yeah, but this January in particular, I feel like there were a bunch of Ukrainian players coming in, which is curious because, I mean, the war's been raging on there for a couple of years now, so it's weird that
what would have triggered it now? Yeah.
I mean,
obviously it's going to be every window. Yeah. They're sort of constrained to that.
Remember the guy we were talking about when we played Trabzon, Danilo, what was it? Sik something?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was from Shakhtar Donetsk, I think. I think they.
Yeah, I think so, man. That's right.
Yeah, I think they signed another player. Wasn't the guy that scored the own goal? Was he maybe also from Shakhtar, or from Ukraine or something? I'm not sure, but
I mean, here's a curious thing. So now to go to politics, sadly, like if they're gonna cede these territories over to Russia to like end this war, as supposedly that's what Trump is angling for. Those territories contain, for example, Donetsk. Shakhtar Donetsk is one of those teams in one of those contested areas.
Yeah,
so, like
the Donbas region.
What happens in the scenario where those teams go to theoretically, like they're not going to go to Russia, obviously. I think for perhaps at least ideological reasons, if not for the fact that they're established in a league as like perennial. I mean, man, this is, sorry, I really didn't want to go to politics. Anyway, so Alexander Petrusenko is the central midfielder for Antalyaspor. Their number 10 is Polish, 22-year-old Jakub Kaluzinski, who was kind of interesting. I saw him making a bit of a mess in their midfield for us at times. Also sort of making a mess, 33-year-old Englishman, Andros Townsend, who, for someone who's 33... still had some legs, I have to say. Opposite him, Musa Genepo, 26-year-old Malian. And, of course, up front, Adolfo Gaish, Argentinian, 26-year-old. But, yeah, so now I'll talk about our guys, and let's do our thing where we kind of analyze the match via them. Oh, boy, we'll get to these chats soon. Sally's on a roll today. Sally, we'll address your other questions somehow. Kartal, I'll ask you first. Our first player to sort of analyze, Ersin Destanoğlu. What do you think? How did he look out there?
I mean, it was an okay game for him. He arguably maybe could have done a bit better on the goal.
Yeah.
I think it was quite hard, but he did get a hand on it. He got more of a hand on it. But it was. I thought it was quite hard, to be honest. So I thought he was okay.
I don't like blaming goalkeepers for I don't like those people who are like, oh, the goalkeeper should have had that. Ooh, but like, I think the goalkeeper should have had that. And I've defended Ersin so many times. But I think Mert would have saved that. Honestly, I don't think the effort was that good.
I need to see the highlight of it. I should have prepped for this one. I don't remember. I remember the goal occurring and being like, "Wow, okay." There's not much that could have been done about that. Obviously, except for build up. But so I don't remember thinking it was on the goalkeeper. But yeah, maybe I'll take a look at that highlight while we move on to the next. I mean, yeah. But so what would you say? Does his rating go down for UConn? Like from a 6.5, is he down to like a 6?
Well, remember the other day against Ayup, we were talking about Mert's save right before we scored the second. Was it before they scored the second goal? I think it was before we scored the second, or was it the third goal?
Yeah. When it was still when we were still level 1-1. Yeah.
So we talked about that as like a very important moment where the goalkeeper of a big team, they don't necessarily need to make a lot of saves, but that's not always an advantage because when you're playing for a smaller team, you usually face more shots on average. So it's easier as a goalkeeper to keep your focus because you're constantly being forced to be at top level concentration. Whereas when you're playing for a bigger team, sometimes you're only going to face a couple of shots in a game. And it's more difficult, I think, to be focused, and it's important that you make those saves. And I think Ersin probably could have done better in that position. Fortunately, it didn't cost us, but there's a very scary scenario there when it was 1-1. If Antalya would then score a second, we would have actually been out of the cup, because Antalyaspor got a forfeit victory against Sivasspor, because Sivasspor actually won that game 2-0, but they lined up a player.
Oh, because is it head-to-head, Con, then? Because I think goal differential, we would have been the head still.
No, it would have been goal differential, because of the forfeit victory, the 2-0 would have been scrapped, and they would have gotten a 3-0 win, and then they were winning, I believe, 3-0, so that was +6, and then they had lost like one game 3-1 or something, so they would have actually gone through on goals scored, because they were, I believe, level on goal differential, but I think they would have gone through on goals scored. So there was a potential situation there until I believe they conceded a goal or something. I don't know, but where if Antalya beat us, we would have actually been out of the cup, which I think just shows how terrible this format is. I think this format for like the Europa League, the Champions League, whether you like it or you don't like it, it does work, and it is fair to an extent. But when you're only playing 3 matches, it is very unfair, because if you have 2 away games like we did, then the chances of you winning 3 games are significantly smaller, and you're in a group with a bunch of teams that you don't even play. So I didn't like the system. There was a scenario there where we could have gone out. Fortunately, it didn't happen. But I think, Ersin, probably should have done better. We would have never had that scare then. But then also we might have not had that beauty from Rafa Silva. So.
And it's also worth noting, Rafa Silva had a fantastic opportunity before Keny's goal, really right out of the gates.
Yeah.
Which he sent just wide, and that could have, who knows?
And
although,
that
again...
was actually caused by Keny pressing the opponent and winning the ball back. That chance, sorry. This often falls into the path of Rafa, who goes through one-on-one and unfortunately hit it wide. So you need to give Keny props in that position as well.
Yeah, we started the game off really well. I thought we were playing very similar to how we were playing against Antalyaspor. We were fluidly attacking, and then after the goal, we kind of took our foot off the gas. And Ole Gunnar...
I didn't like that we've done that.
Yeah.
But there's one thing that's positive to say. Ole, after the game, did say in the press conference that we didn't create enough chances, and he was disappointed that we kind of took the foot off the gas after scoring.
Yeah, you should at least score a second. Then you can...
So that kind of dispelled the doubts of some fans, myself included, that was a directive. Going off of what Ollie said, it clearly wasn't a directive. Unfortunately, it was the players themselves that seemingly took the foot off the gas, which I think you always need to be more ruthless and go for more. Like 1-0 is never a safe score.
Yeah, I agree. Also, at 1-0, maybe in the cup it's less so this scenario because Antalya needed a win. But in the league, at 1-0, a lot of teams who are going to be happy with a point, they are not going to be bothered by that 1-0. They're going to let you take your foot off the gas pedal for 60 minutes. And then in the last 15 to 20, they're going to start sticking their nose at the door. And then if they score in minute 83, you don't have enough time to turn it around anymore most of the time. Because also the momentum in the game is gone. The flow is gone. So it's dangerous. You should never really lean on a 1-0 if you have it in you to score a second, I think. And I definitely think that against Antalya yesterday, we could have pressed on a little bit, scored a second, scored a third, killed the game.
Yeah.
I think...
there's one, for example, I didn't like the fact that Jean Mario came off at half-time for Mustafa.
Yeah, that was a bit mystifying.
Yeah, so obviously Mustafa did have that one good action in the game where he wins the ball high up the pitch and squares it and it's intercepted. But other than that, he didn't really do anything.
The one where he almost reached Rafa, that one?
Yeah, that one, yeah. So he pressed up high and won the ball and then squared it. It was meant to go to Rafa, but it was intercepted.
Oh, yeah, you're right, Con. He could have gotten a little more of a hand on that.
You call that a good action. You call it a good action then, but his pass is intercepted, so it's...
Yeah, but it's still... It's important to the fact that he was pressing that high and was able to win the ball up there is a good action, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's like I feel like with so far with Mustafa this season, I kind of feel like everything is kind of
Half-baked.
yeah. There isn't something to me like yet last season with Simi, there were lots of moments where you're like, whoa, this kid is special.
Yeah.
I haven't had that moment with Mustafa yet, even though we hear great things about him, and some people even rate him higher than Simi.
Khan, that goal against Galatasaray in the Super Cup, actually. He scored that nice goal. He kind of dinked it. And I thought, okay, maybe we've got something here. But then that was it.
Yeah,
I haven't seen
exactly.
it since. It was like a moment.
That was exactly. That was like a moment where you were like, oh, maybe we've got something here. And then you kind of expect there to be a continuation on that. And I feel like
we haven't seen it.
We haven't seen it.
I forgot how
all.
beautiful Rafa Silva's goal was. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Woo!
See, the Grazzo game as well in the summer, he looked very good in that as well. Mustafa.
Yeah, scored 2 goals in that one. He looked good throughout the preseason, actually. I think like all the friendlies that he played in, he looked good in. And maybe, I don't know, like, remember the Ajax match where Giovanni started him and that I think maybe hurt his confidence a little bit, but this much onwards from that, and it's not like the fans got on his back or anything. He should have rebounded from that, so I don't think it's just a confidence thing. I think it's just a not being ready thing, and I really would like to see him getting a loan spell with plenty of game opportunities like Temir Ege is getting right now for Ria Ave. I definitely think Mustafa can be a good player and a Beşiktaş player in the future, but I think he needs that experience and a little bit of time away from Beşiktaş. That makes sense. Not permanently, of course, on loan.
Well, all right, guys, let me pull this back out a little bit. All right, so I've sort of watched the highlights while you guys were doing that, so that's helpful.
Let's answer Sally's question first, because he did pay for it.
Well, let's finish the lineup first.
Right,
let's at least get through this game
Okay.
and kind of analyze it as best we can. So the back line. So Ersin, he made a great save, diving save on what ended up being an offsides play right after our goal. So he did that, but then you're right. Watching that highlight, he got a hand on that
He
ball.
got a hand on it, but he
like
pushes it. He pushes it into the corner.
Yeah,
like it wasn't
just like not enough.
It wasn't
yeah.
far. It wasn't like the attempt wasn't really far from him. I think he's just a little slow on the reaction.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, he sort of just kind of weak, a little bit of a weak hand on it. But it is what it is. Obviously, we shouldn't have given them a header from like point blank range to the extent that we did either.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure who was on the other, if that was Emirhan or Felix.
Not sure,
either way,
but it was Masuaku
been a
who let
weakness
the
all
cross
year.
come in.
Yeah, it was, and he sort of lazily got to that. Anyway, backline: Felix Udokai, 27-year-old German, and Emirhan Topçu, 24-year-old Turk. Any comments on our 2 studs on the back line?
I was surprised to see Emirhan start because he missed the Ayub game due to an injury, and if I would have been in Ole's shoes, I probably would have rested him for this match and let Tayyip play. But I'm sure he must have been fine. Although Tayyip did come on later in the second half, but I think he came on for Immobile. So, or am I wrong there? I don't remember who he came on for.
I think you're right because I don't recall.
No, actually, he came on at halftime, I think. So I'd have to check it.
Yeah, again, we're lacking in the stats department here. I was gonna ask Kartal if you know. I think maybe there would be Turkish sources who could provide some minimal stats. So if I wanted to give you a little homework assignment there, that could be worth maybe checking out. Although I can't.
Yeah, no, I've got stats, man.
Oh, there you go.
You have, XG and stuff like that as well, or
It doesn't have XG, man.
okay. Yeah.
It's just the very, very basic stats.
Yeah, I don't even have subs on LiveScore either. And I don't have them on FotMob either.
Oh, so Emirhan did come off, by the way.
Oh, okay.
So
At
it might have been
halftime,
like
maybe then.
Yeah, so Emirhan came off at half-time for Tayyip Talha Sanuc. Also, at half-time, Keny Arroyo came off for Milot Rishika.
Yeah.
And also João Mario came off for Mustafa Erhan Hekimoğlu. Who
I don't know if I liked any of those subs. To be honest.
No, I mean, Rashica was good when he came on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was all right. He was.
Oh, I thought Rashica was very good. In fact, of course, it was a great shot from Rafa. It was an amazing goal, but it's Rashica that creates that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Between two players and squares it to Rafa.
Yes.
I think I said this on air maybe a couple times, but for me, Rashica could be almost an ideal 12th man.
Yeah.
You know, someone who comes on because he can play in a number of positions, right? Obviously, either wing, probably even that 10 role in a pinch. Certainly as a wing back, you know. I mean, he could come in so many different roles off the bench if you need him to and provide you something. I mean, I think that was a pretty good example. He came on and
if he wasn't on $2 million a year and he wasn't a foreigner, then I definitely think he'd be a good squad depth player. The problem is that
although the foreigner thing maybe doesn't matter, Ken. We have to wait for that.
We have to wait and see some clarity on that. But I mean, I feel like we're paying money for a really good winger, and we're only getting a rotation player out of it, if that makes sense. Although, to be fair, he is one of the players that under Ole has seen a big rise in form.
Bit of a resurgence.
Yeah. I mean, with the entire team has, of course, but Masuaku, Rashica are players that weren't playing well before and are playing well now. Whereas, for example, Rafa
and João Mario, you got to.
Whereas, Rafa, he was obviously playing really well throughout the season until recently. He had a dip, and then now he's picked it up again. But he's been, for 80% of the season, he's been together with Jetson our best man. So, yeah,
that goal was just something special. Anyway, final comments, guys, on the back two, on Felix and Emirhan. Thoughts? And we can add Tayyip, I guess, to that, the sub.
Tayyip did piss off Asin during the game. I don't know if you saw that clip.
He was really yelling at him to get into position. He was,
what it was is Asin done passed it from a goal kick to Tayyip, and Tayyip gave it to him, gave it straight back to him. Because he got a little press, and then Asin shouted at him.
Yeah, don't be in danger like that. Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, I thought it was good to see Ersin taking something of a leadership role there as far as communication, but Tayyip definitely got the on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, to be honest, how I think about that. I think when you're swearing like that, and
was he swearing, or was he actually swearing at him?
I said he was going to show off his pussy, man.
Oh, see, that's where I don't have the advantage of
that. Okay. That's pretty bad.
Boy.
A lot of really trash gets spoken on the pitch, though, I have to say. So.
Yeah. Obviously, these guys are professionals; they're used to it, man. But see, I remember when I was in school, playing five-a-side football. See, when people would start swearing at each other and moaning at each other, I'd hate that. But
personally,
sure, this happens plenty in professional football, and these guys have got a thick skin, so probably doesn't bother them too much.
Well, mainly as well for a goalkeeper, it's kind of to wake up your defenders. It's I
think so too. Yeah,
but that's probably ties into Tayyip's confidence issues.
Yeah, I mean that's my only concern.
Tayyip made a post after the game saying, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a photo of those two. They've got their arm around each other. I think he might have said Asin is angry or something.
All right, that's good. So they're not on bad terms or anything.
I can't remember exactly what it was.
Blackburn Rovers new coach Valérien Ismail. That's interesting. Good luck to you, Valérien.
Yeah, and today is also
your beautiful family.
The 10-year anniversary of Goodbye Liverpool, says our Black Eagle member Finnish Kebab with the beautiful Beşiktaş logo there, guys. If you want to get that logo, it's just 99 cents.
Anyway, that back line, pretty solid. I think we can all agree, right? I mean, obviously, aerial goals being scored aerially is still a problem, but in part, as Khan mentions, that's fullbacks not getting in there and cutting out crosses as well. It's not entirely on the central defense. Anyway, fullbacks, Arthur Masuaku and Jonas Svensson. And I suppose we can add Onur Bulut to the mix. He played a little bit. What are your guys' thoughts on those guys in this match? I mean, obviously, Masuaku had a fantastic start to the game. Great assist to Keny Arroyo. Pretty much made that goal. Served it on a golden platter.
Well, you say that, but Keny Arroyo's run also has to be praised.
Of course,
Yeah.
no, and he gets in front of his defender.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's credit to everyone involved.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, what do you guys think about our fullbacks yesterday?
I think Svensson did have one really good challenge on Gineppo. It was a
I remember that.
shoulder challenge in the box, so that
Yeah.
prevented a huge chance.
Is that the one where he tried to get the penalty?
I think so, yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
that guy
But that
just,
Gineppo guy's been flapping. It's been a year of flapping for him. It's been a floppy year as far as our interactions with him go.
Oh,
Anyway.
there we go. We got a new hatchling, Mario Vargas. Welcome to the club.
Hatchling. Our man Mario. Of course, he'd be first.
He's
Our
not
loyal
fir-
listener.
Nathan Davis was first. Finish kebab.
Look at that,
and
Mr.
now-
Colorado.
Yeah, and now Finish kebab was second, and now Mario. I think he's third, unless I missed somebody else. Let me go up. No,
I was trying to think of something I could say about Colorado for Nathan, but I've got nothing.
I got nothing. No, me neither. Colorado is not something.
South Park's in Colorado.
Is
Lauren
it?
Boebert.
Yeah.
Haha, you're stuck with Lauren Boebert, sucker. Sorry about that, Nathan. I don't know why I'd be antagonizing you. You just gave
All
us
right,
money.
Denver, Colorado. Oh yeah, I've been watching Everwood. I've been binge watching Everwood, so I'm pretty sure that's in Colorado.
Could be. Something like that. I have no idea. Hey, you guys. Hi to Tinakun. We should probably do comment. No, look, come on. Stop. All right. Let's at least end like we're being unprofessional, guys. All right, fullbacks. I guess Czech, right? Masuaku, kind of
Other than
mostly good, a little
Yeah.
bad. You talked
other
about.
than the cross he allowed in, but I mean, you can't be angry at every time a cross gets past a guy. Although for me, for a moment there, I had like, oh, that was like the pre-January Masuaku there for a second. But you also have to give him credit. He was very good offensively again. I thought great assist. Yeah, and then Onur Bulut, he came on, and I was ready to praise him because he wins a ball. Reminded me a little bit of how Cenk won the ball against Porto and then assisted it to Talisca. But instead of following up that really good press and run and winning of the ball, high ball, winning it, and then finishing that off with a good assist, he proceeded to then give the worst pass of the match. I was like, ah. I was like this close, Onur. I was this close on praising you, man, and then you had to ruin it.
Yeah, he had that soft boot. I don't know. It's a little bit contagious. I see. It's like Rafa Silva's had it a couple times. He's got that little soft boot. I don't know what that is, but it spreads at times. Anyway, moving on. Back of our midfield, Jedson Fernandes and Amir Hadziometovich. So for the first time, we saw the new pairing in the back. I mean, quote unquote new. The only thing I really remember of Amir was that lovely shot from distance towards the end of the match. He sent in a low pinger that the keeper saved. I mean, granted, he had the angle pretty well shut down, but there wasn't a lot of action for much of this match.
Yeah.
So that's one moment, but
Amir is one of those players. that you
neither
need
of them
to-
really stood out.
Yeah, Amir is one of those players you need to watch closely if you want to properly evaluate his match. He didn't stand out to me at all, neither positive nor negative. So,
And even Jedson. I mean, I'm sure he did the usual Jedson
pretty
thing
quiet
at times.
game for Jetson, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cartel, any thoughts there on those two?
Jetson, I don't think they were fine. They done their job, serviceable, man. I don't think there was anything extra special. You did point out that Amir did have a nice shot that forced a save from the goalkeeper. Other than that, it was just a standard game. It wasn't anything that really stood out.
Yeah.
Yeah, which,
Yeah.
again, that's fine. Given how much Jedson has given us this year, It's
Yeah.
all right if he has just a a seven outing.
Yeah, he can put in a game like this once in a while. I mean, if he shows up for the big moments like he has many times this
Exactly.
season, then
Exactly.
that's perfectly fine. Yeah, I agree.
And so then we move on to probably the man of the match, our number 10, Rafa Silva.
Yeah.
Beautiful goal.
Really good pass
Um,
on the first goal as well.
Yeah, he creates that. Yeah.
He creates
And
it,
almost
yeah.
scored before the first goal,
was-
getting into a great position.
Could have done better
Kartal
there. I thought he
broke
made
down.
the wrong decision. We were having a discussion in one of our group chats, and somebody saying that Rafa's finishing is poor, and as something, I don't know how you guys feel about Rafa's finishing, but like poor is not the word I would chouse because
No, it's just perhaps inconsistent.
Yeah, it's inconsistent, I'd say. 'Cause sometimes his finishes are great. Like he's
Yeah.
I mean, look at that second goal. Like, how could you say that after the second goal he scored yesterday?
the majority of the goals that he scores this season are all good finishes. Like he had the goal on the weekend against Ayoub, that was a good finish.
Yeah.
I think that when you say a good finisher, I always or a bad finisher, I would not describe Rafa Silva as a bad finisher simply because I think technically he's a quite good finisher. I just think that he makes wrong decisions. Like for example, on this particular,
he gets a little excited. I think.
yeah, maybe not even that, but like on this particular position, if you look at this position, the goalkeeper does really well rushing off his line, closing down the angle, and then he decides to try and squeeze it to the goalkeeper's left.
Yep.
But that's a super tight angle. I think
if it just smashes it up,
if you look at the goalkeeper, he's already going on his ass. He's already going down. You just lob it. That's where you have to go for the lob.
Or smash it like far corner.
Well, I don't think you smash it because then because of the way the goalkeeper closes down, you have a good chance of hitting him in the torso. I think you just lob it over him because he's already going down. You can just get it, lifted over him. And then you have if you remember the position against, was it Antalya? No, it was Samsunspor against Okan Koçuk. He has a really good chance there as well. And Okan is actually still on his feet and he tries to lift it over. And Okan was close and on his feet. So it's not necessarily bad technique, but it's a bad choice. He goes for the wrong option.
So I guess what you're saying is he has the ability to do that.
It's
in his bag.
I think he's a more than adequate finisher. I think the problem is he makes wrong decisions. For example, in that position with Okan Koçuk, he always should have gone around the goalkeeper and tried to finish it, but he should not have gone for the lob there because the goalkeeper is still on his feet and the angle and he's close enough. So you're not going to be able to give that ball enough of a lift to get it over him. Well, you might, but you probably won't. And I think it's the same here where he just goes for the wrong choice. So when people say Rafa is a bad finisher, I really don't agree with that because I think football technically he's a good finisher. I'm not gonna say excellent. I think he's a good finisher, but he just makes wrong decisions, in my opinion.
Yeah. Any comments from you, Kartal, on Rafa before we move on?
Okay, I think the goal speaks for itself, and the pre-assist speaks for itself. Rafa played a good game as well, and there was another position as well. I believe where Rafa plays it out wide, and Masuaku squares it, and the ball's intercepted. Again, that was a really good pass. We saw some great playmaking from Rafa today, and he topped it off with a beautiful goal as well.
Is he your man of the match, guys?
He has to be, man.
I think so, yeah. He wins the game. Yeah. And it's an important one because topping the group actually really important because now that gives us the home advantage exactly in the quarterfinal. And the quarterfinal will be played over just one leg. So being able to play that match at home is super important.
Big.
And there is a small possibility if Galatasaray finished second in their group that we play them, and then we could
continue having home field advantage.
Then we could potentially knock them out early, and that would be good, of course. It's just, it's an unlikely scenario because they'll probably finish top of their group. But if they don't and they finish second, then there's a possibility we face them, and then that would be interesting. I think good opportunity for us to get rid of one of the rivals for the cup.
Yeah, and then finally, or not finally, we also have to comment on the performance of our wings, João Mario, and of course Keny Arroyo. And if you guys have any comments on it, I don't really recall much happening with him, but Fahri I also came in towards the end. Fahri,
not much.
Couple touches, didn't really do much, so I don't think there's a lot to say about him.
Yeah.
Obviously Keny with a goal on his, we'll call it his debut, certainly his first start. João Mario I thought was really solid. I still don't quite understand why he was taken off at the half, but I mean it makes sense if you're resting him, right? I mean you want some squad rotation. I'm not sure if that was.
Yeah, but it's also not like Rafa scores in the 90th minute or something. I think he scores 77 or something. 74, 75. So I mean, there's still plenty of time in that match. So yeah, it's good that he scores, but if he doesn't, maybe we find the goal still. So I think I kind of had the impression. Oh, what the hell? Why the hell? No, sorry, I had accidentally muted Kafel there, I think. Yeah, exactly. There we go. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it was that bad, but I had the impression that there were certain decisions made of we're going to give these players 45 minutes and then we're going to give these players 45 minutes. I was just disappointed that we didn't get to see Elan Ricardo. I would have liked to see him for at least 45 minutes.
I was disappointed. Yeah. In fact, I've been disappointed the last two games, man. I was expecting Elan to at least get some minutes, man, over these next couple of games.
Yeah.
Or the last two games, I should say.
Let's see. Do you think, Hayretin asks, do you think that Mucci would be a better choice to set a gameplay for Beşiktaş? Rafa is getting there, but not enough, I believe. No, I no. Rafa has 22 goal contributions this season, man. He's got the if you eliminate penalties, he's got the third highest goal contribution of any player employed of a Turkish club. So he has higher goal contributions than Dusan Tadic, higher goal contributions than Victor Osimhen. He is only below Piontek and Neziri, I think, and those are both strikers.
Karen's favorite player, Neziri.
Yeah, the donkey. I had to.
And folks, don't worry, we'll get to all of your comments.
Yeah, we'll get to all the comments. But,
we'll get there.
So I really don't think so. I think Rafa is just head and shoulders above anyone in the squad. I think he's head and shoulders above any number 10 in the league. I don't think there's anyone that comes close, unless you count Tadic as a 10. But
last comments on Keny Arroyo and João Mario.
Yeah, I mean, there's one bit of criticism I've got for Keny. Well, I don't want to call it criticism, but I want to see him take on his man more. We didn't really see it in this game.
See that at all.
I want to see that.
Yeah. I did like he was very active. He was making a lot of runs. There was a couple of times where we did try a long ball, and you can tell that he is just such a handful for the defense because he's fast. He goes after those balls. He presses well. He defended well. I thought he looks like a really good player, and I think it's somebody we're going to enjoy.
Just the instinct. I think Semi could learn some things from Arroyo.
Yeah.
That's actually a perfect segue. So the last player to talk about.
Know when to do it.
The last player to talk about is
that's a sign of mature football, and the fact that this boy's just turned 19 is very promising. And also his short press created a chance for Rafa as well. And then there was actually one pass that I missed. That there was a supposedly a very good pass from Keny to Svensson, but because I was obviously the game started at 12 UK time, and I was on my lunch break, like from the 15th minute through to half time, and I was frying my eggs, and I just turned away from my laptop screen for 2 seconds while I was frying my eggs, and I just heard the commentator say, "Oh, great pass from Keny to Svensson," but I've not seen it. But Karen also said after the game that there was a very nice pass. Didn't actually see that one. Because it wasn't in the highlights either. I wish they put it in the highlights, but they know.
No, they didn't put it in. I'm getting my voice is coming through from one of you guys. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm hearing the double there for sure.
Now it's gone. So Simi, you were gonna say Sina, the last man to talk about.
Yeah, that's it, and that's it.
Yeah.
We're done with our match analysis. And I mean, Cartel, I think, already sort of made a point about his performance that's pretty poignant.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I think he's the one player who kind of stands out as a disappointment in the match yesterday. Really, especially coming off that goal he scored, and I think we were all kind of hoping he could kind of build on that, and become a reliable, someone who could maybe replace Ciro Immobile in the starting lineup. Some people were talking about. That's not happening, I would say. Personally.
I think until he starts doing off the ball what Ciro does off the ball, EA create space for Rafa and for other players and pull holes in the defense. I think Ciro will be starting every game when he's fit. Because if you look at Semi, this was an opportunity for Semi, and he was. Yeah. I think if you're being nice, you call it an anonymous game, a bland game. If you're being harsh, then I think lethargic, unimpressive, shit. It wasn't good. He wasn't good. He didn't do... I don't think he did anything that was that good.
Yeah, there was nothing noteworthy, man.
Yeah, he should be weighing on that Antalyaspor defense. He should be getting stuck in. He should be fighting. He should be pressing. He should be... Yeah, I think if Semi wants to make it in his career, he needs to be a lot more, not aggressive, because sometimes he's too aggressive, but he needs to be more tenacious, and he needs to be
hungry, goal hungry,
more relentless, more goal hungry. I've said this before. A guy like Cal Laren doesn't have anywhere near the technical ability that Simi has, but the guy is really hungry for scoring goals, and he's gonna score 3 to 4 goals every season, just because he goes after every ball. And sometimes, if you remember, I think it was against Galatasaray, the Marcao, I think it was, played like a really bad back pass. And then if you go after those types of balls, you intercept it and you get a one-on-one goal scoring opportunity just because you're tenacious. And that's something I don't see from Simi. And he should be doing that. He's 19 years old. He has no excuse not to be running his lungs out every game.
Yeah, and Laren had very high football IQ as well. Always knew where to be despite his lack of technical ability, which is quite funny because if you hear Kyle Laren speak,
you wouldn't think he was the smartest guy.
I knew what you were gonna say. All right, let's get to the super chat now, Sinan, because I feel like we've been letting him wait too long. And maybe we can.
I'm a little disappointed. Sally deleted that initial comment, the question, but I'm going to try to still... I remember the bulk of it.
Oh, so did he change the question now for the super chat?
No, he deleted it, and then he said he wasn't going to pay for the other one. We'll do both, though. And so, Sally, your question was something... So Trump is getting a kickback from Truth Social, and what about the ethical considerations? Now,
what is Truth
Social? What I'll say about Trump...
That?
So it is a social media app, which I thought was honestly his. I thought he'd already bought it or was a major shareholder in it, which in and of itself bucks all ethical standards as far as American politics go. I remember Jimmy Carter famously, rest in peace. He just passed away.
Did he?
He had a peanut farm. Because he grew up he's a real modest peanut farmer. Grew up in a family wherever he's from. And he gave away his holdings in the peanut farm, his family farm, because he didn't want any fear of there being kind of, conflict of interest as far as his business and serving. So people knew he was fully serving the people. Obviously, that age has come and gone. Trump has his name on buildings. He sends his son-in-law to make business deals with Saudi Arabia. Right? Ethical considerations with this guy are in the trash. So as far as ethics go with Trump, that I would remove all ethical considerations from your analysis of him as not just as a president, but as a human being. And this goes back to his practices as a real estate, quote unquote, mogul, where he was indicted for racial discrimination, and I mean he has a backlog of terrible things regarding his ethics. So I wouldn't expect ethics when it comes to his president. That's my answer to you, Sally. And so here's
about Trump though, Sinan, because he's of course talking about the tariffs and stuff like that, but maybe we can make it somewhat, topical to our podcast because it's a Beşiktaş podcast. So for you and for all the other Beşiktaş fans living in the States, what does that mean if you want to order merchandise from kartaljuvasi.eu?
Probably higher rate.
Does that mean
sure.
you guys are gonna have to start? How does that work? Do you guys then have to start paying like custom fees or what? Like,
well, so I think it translates into taxes eventually, but
it's
I mean, look,
consumer
it's
that
worth
pays
noting,
it, right?
It's worth noting that the worst case scenario for a trade war is a real war. Like World War I essentially was as a blown out trade war turned into, people talk, the Archduke Franz Ferdinand and whatnot, but like frankly, it was Germany, it was England threatened by the UK threatened by the prospect of a rising Germany economically, and trade wars sort of rose to real war. And I think when you consider that the tariffs that were placed on like Mexico and Canada have already been, he kind of gave them a pass, but the ones on China remain in place. In this case, I think China's the Germany in a world war scenario, and the US is the waning empire that is, not accepting a new world order where there's like another superpower that's emerging and perhaps already in many ways doing better. And you think about all the like Trump cutting US aid and sort of he's done with soft politics, like being nice to people and like giving them help, where China is now swooping in and throwing money at anyone they can. And frankly, like African countries love China at this point because they're just helping them build roads. They're helping them build trains.
They've been doing.
Yeah, I know.
And I mean, can you blame? I mean, it's a mutually beneficial arrangement.
No. That's
like we, the West, we have pillaged Africa of its riches, and China is investing in it. So
Yeah, no, China's. I mean,
whatever.
Hats off to them. I'm gonna probably get like the new FBI knocking on my door
you're
now.
You're gonna be accused of being a
ousted,
communist.
Exactly for expressing, But I mean, I'll be frank with it, man. Like, good on them.
Yeah, whatever the motivation behind it is, it benefits the people in Africa. So good for those people.
Exactly. Anyway, we're way off topic.
Yeah.
Ofus Aure. You said Biden wasn't much better, but we're talking about football, right? Yes, we are here to talk about football. Sorry, Sally paid us money to talk about that on air,
got
so
5
you have to
minutes
apologize.
That's
how
what
easy
we're easy to buy, just 99 cents. No, but he does say something that we can kind of tie into football. Buy low, sell high. That is the way of it. That is what is it? That is
what economy is about. That's what the economy is about.
What the football economy is about as well, right? Like we're trying to.
That's right. Hopefully, that's what we're doing.
Change the club culture into buy low, sell high, and we saw Keny Arroyo, who we didn't quite buy low. We have to be honest. I mean, if we get the full 80% of his rights, we'll be out 9.2 million. But if you then can sell him for 20, 25 or whatever, then that's a buy low, sell high scenario. And with Elan Ricardo, we paid less than 2 million for him, so that is definitely those types of moves that we hopefully will be moving toward. And we talked about it in our last episode where we talked about should Beşiktaş be spending a lot of money to compete with their rivals, and I made the argument of, in certain scenarios, yes. Like a guy like Rafa, like you need a couple of those players. But of course, we know we can't and we shouldn't do what Galatasaray and Fenerbahce do, because what they do is throw every position. They throw money at it. Just throw money every position. 10 million euros. Bam, bam, bam, bam, bam. Beşiktaş can't and shouldn't do that. But Beşiktaş can, so from time to time, get a player like maybe Rafa Silva, who really, and that also ties into what Hayrettin was saying. I think Rafa Silva is somebody you build around for the next 3 years, at least. Mucci if we didn't have Rafa Silva, yes. But because we have Rafa Silva and because Rafa Silva is as good as he is, I think you need to go for Rafa. That doesn't mean that Mucci has to be pushed to the wayside. I definitely think that Mucci can be further enhanced and polished and hopefully sold at a profit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so can you, as far as Al Musrati goes now, someone was saying that we bought him for 14 million euros, wasn't it?
12.
It's 12.
12. Yeah, I thought it was 12. And we're gonna get we got 1 mil back, and we'll get I think all of that back basically, right? If
Well, we got a 1 million loan fee, and then we're gonna get 10 million if we sell him.
Oh, so we're down a mil.
So yes, and the 10 million is also conditional because I think it's 8 plus 2. So but I don't know what the plus 2 depends on. Maybe that depends on like Monaco getting into the Champions League or something like that. I don't know.
Match appearance.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. Yeah.
Continuing. Let me go back to the chat. I guess we don't have any stats, so I guess that's it for our analysis. And we have a lot of chat.
Yeah, let's get to the
I
chat.
do have some stats, you know.
Say again?
I do have some stats.
Oh, you do have some.
Oh, you do?
Okay.
Cartel, let's hear them. Yeah, let's hear them quickly before we. What you got?
Okay, so the possession was 50-50. Total shots, 4 from Antalyaspor, 7 from us. Accurate shots, well, shots on target, 1 for them, 4 for us. 3 corners apiece, 1 yellow card for us, and then no red cards. So that's all the stats they have for this game.
So Ersin had 1 shot and he let it in, essentially.
Yeah, that's right.
Shades of Valérien. Speaking of Valérien, it's my.
Yeah. I mean, I think we should get to the comments now. Sally had one more question, and I actually think it's also a little bit relevant because he was talking about IPTV and stuff like that.
Yeah, this one's for Cartel.
Yeah.
All right, let me get to that one because he's not paying for this one, Cons. We'll get that in order.
All right.
But so Carlito is here. Whoop whoop. Hawks Honcho. Let's go Black Eagles. Love seeing the team hit form and string together some wins. Hell yeah, Hawks. I think we're all thrilled to see that, and man, we deserve it. What do we, like? Shit, we've gone through some tough times. 6-1-1. Ole is 6-1-1. Knock on wood that we maintain that good form. But yeah, so far so good. Carlito again. Congrats, gents, on a YouTube plaque, and it's good to be recording live with Carlito in the comment section as always. It's always a welcome sight. For sore eyes.
I'm gonna talk to him tomorrow actually because a question that came up later I think. So today they published what is it? It's not an indictment, is it? It's a what's it called? They published an audit. An audit, that's the word I was looking for.
Oh yeah,
so
they
published the audit.
Yeah.
So
of Hassan Arad.
Yeah, so Carlito is actually going through the audit, and tomorrow me and him will record a video and we'll talk about it and publish it on YouTube and on Patreon. And yeah, early access. Become a member.
There we go.
Click that join button.
There you go. Patreon. Nathan, speaking of access, he dropped 4. Do you have to pay for like each of those? Is that how does that work?
No.
4 Beşiktaş logos.
Those are, so when you become a member, you gain access to extra emojis, and that's just an emoji that he can use.
So he just became a member before we were on air, so he didn't get the
more members we get, the more emoji slots we get. So I can add other emojis. So if there's specific emojis,
I wish we could get them to show up on the feed. On air
I still have to figure that out. If I can get that to work, because that would be cool if we could get like the members to like show their badges next to their names. That would be really cool.
Yeah, because I just saw some of them like Nathan, Finish Kebab, they've got
in the YouTube feed, like on YouTube itself, you can see all that stuff. But like on our stream, I have to figure out if I can fix.
It's funny, Sally did not get the membership, but he's paying for each comment so that we can lose listeners by talking about politics on air. That's creative tanking there, Sally. Innovative. NS Demirtas. Have you heard reports about the previous president?
So that's what.
Yeah, and that's what Khan was just talking about, the audit.
Yeah, me and Carlito will be talking about that tomorrow, and then we'll make a video. We'll go over the outcome of the audit.
That's right.
So that's something for tomorrow.
And yeah, all the more reason to sign up for our Patreon, folks. Sally Kalkovan is back after paying for the previous political chat discourse, if you will. Goes on to ask. So this question is for you, Cardfell. He says, "What do you think about the BBC sending prosecutors to homes without a TV license? Do you feel threatened having IPTV?" I will not pay for this one. He says, "I will not pay for this one."
I don't think you have.
Yeah, that's why you got it.
So I don't have IPTV. I use Digital Play for the league games, and then for the European games, I use a VPN with Tubby. So I don't have IPTV. I pay my TV license every year.
Yeah.
Is that
You don't feel threatened?
It's very. Cartel explained this to me once. It's very extortionate because they actually, if you don't pay it, they come to your house, and if you you don't even have to have TV. Like, if you watch Digital Play, you have to pay for the right to be able to watch that as well, right, Cartel?
Yeah, that's correct, Can. So if you watch anything live, you need to pay the license.
That's ridiculous.
Well, here, let me try to think about the logic of this from your government's perspective. Sorry, folks.
£170.
I guess it requires resources.
Yeah, so it's
from their end, maintaining upkeep, right?
The BBC. That's what it's for.
Yeah, but what resources? But it doesn't require any
Well, how do you plug the Digiturk box? Do you plug it in?
No, I just have a app on my smart TV.
Yeah, that's just internet. You don't need anything provided by the BBC.
Yeah, and that's provided by a private company.
Exactly.
Right?
So
I wonder
it's ridiculous. So
because here, like cable,
in the
United States, because there's nothing nationalized in that. Like, there's no BBC functionally speaking. You have to pay for cable and probably much larger fees than you would for the BBC registration or whatever. But you also, through your cable provider, get internet. So I guess that's what I was thinking, is if the BBC is providing the fiber optic cables or whatever it is that you need to run the internet, then theoretically.
But even if they did though, Sinan, you pay for your internet, so you're already paying for the service.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, no, I just mean if there's any resources for them to maintain and upkeep, it makes sense for them to charge something.
It's a bit of a scam, to be honest.
It's a scam.
Yeah, it doesn't sound... Because if you're paying a private service for the internet, also, they're the ones running the fiber optic cables and all that. So, yeah, I mean, anyway, that sounds fishy.
It's £170 a year if you watch BBC iPlayer.
170 or 7? 107 or 170?
70.
Man, that's a shit ton of money, man. Like, that's a lot of money. That's 200 euros. And maybe you don't even watch BBC.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I mean, don't get me wrong. See, when there's like an international tournament, BBC coverage is always brilliant.
Oh yeah.
So I'll watch.
And in answer to that question, Emre Tun, so he mentions Fanatics as an app you could use, and it's true. Like in the US, a lot of people are like kind of quote unquote cutting the cable and getting more and more of these streaming apps. But I have to say, as someone who used to pay like a standard cable fee, and it was like gave you everything. Nowadays, I'm spending so much money on like 17 different streaming apps. Like, I don't know how much better we are having kind of quote unquote cut the cable here. So I mean, this remains kind of an eternal issue, I suppose. Jason wants to know how it is in Belgium. Do you have this sort of private sort of situation like we have here in the US?
No, we have something similar to the BBC, but like we have our state broadcaster as well. But we used to have to pay for cable, but since most people are now watching watching digitally, so via the internet, I think they kind of stopped cable altogether. And I mean, obviously, people pay taxes here, and some of that money goes to the state broadcaster. But it's not like in the UK where you have to pay £170 or 200 euros every year just for our version of the BBC. Like, I mean, maybe 200 euros of the taxes that are paid go there, but I don't think that. I don't think it's that much.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I mean,
this is what
so many people are just saying, "Oh, I don't watch anything live. I just stream." So the way it currently is if you only stream pre-recorded content, you don't have to pay it. But they're even if you use BBC iPlayer, you need to pay it. But if it's just Netflix or YouTube, you don't. But they're thinking of changing it now, where that if you stream anything on a telly, you need to pay the money.
That's fucking
because so many people are opting out.
Man, that is.
It's especially crazy because, as far as I'm aware, right, like the BBC produces some pretty high quality like dramas where they have very famous actors and actresses, right? Like, so you're kind of being charged for them to make these elaborate.
It's ridiculous.
They should be a private company.
It's ridiculous, man. That's perverse. It's like some Turkish bullshit.
Kind of
All right, let's talk about football. Let's talk about football.
I wonder if Cheche is the same. Hey, anyone? I want to talk about Cheche.
Seen in Turkey, it's a bit different. So, see, when you buy a TV, there'll be a TRT tax on the TV.
Oh, really? That's novel. That's interesting. It's an interesting way of handling it, I guess.
All right, let's talk about football because
a bunch of highway robbery.
I feel like 90% of our viewership is switched the channel, man.
They've unplugged literally. Okay, we're just shooting the shit at this point.
There's something.
Trippy Galen, hello everyone. Finnish kebab. That new intro is amazing. Ufunfu. Mr. Baez, today will you be screaming about Galatasaray again?
Actually, no. But I do. Actually, before we finish the comments, I want to ask something, guys, and maybe this is also something interesting what Yasin can later clip into a separate video. But I want to talk to you guys about this idea that's floating around. I don't know if it's an idea, like rumblings that are floating around right now, and I've heard them in the past, like the past couple of months. What do you guys think of this rumor that maybe we're going to go into a playoff at the end of the season?
I'm sorry, what? We're gonna go into a playoff?
Well, there's talk of it. I don't know how serious the talk is, but like.
So is that like one of those things where they take like the top?
Do you remember? Yeah. Do you remember in 2011 and 12 we had the Superfinal? Do you remember that? Like it was like us, Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, and Trabzonspor, and we played like a playoff. And
it was 2 games, home and away
against each other, and then whoever had the most points from the regular season plus the points tallied up from the super final, whoever ended up on top then was the champion. So
it wasn't exactly how it worked, Can, is they actually halved the points of the teams. So the point difference.
They didn't do that though. They didn't do that.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
Did they? Are you sure?
Yeah, they did.
There had to be some way of like prorating.
They do that in Belgium, and I think they.
No, they done that in the super final as well. In fact, I was making calculations of how we'd win the league in 2011, 2012. Unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Okay. Well, I mean, what do you guys think of this?
I just think they should leave it the way it is, man. Like, if I was to maybe lack a bit of integrity, I'd say, oh yeah, bring it on, do it this year. And
if I was a Galatasaray fan and Galatasaray was in our position, I'd be all like, yeah, bring it on, because Galatasaray fans, don't have any ethics. Yeah.
I'll tell you this. Here's what I say. Here, if they're trying to make some sort of event for people to air it, I would suggest they make some separate tournament, maybe as like a preseason tournament to spice up the preseason and give us slightly more competitive games to prepare for the season, instead of the Super Cup, and you could do like a little round robin tournament or some shit like that. But making new rules that impact, right? Like the league is founded on, we have this many stars, this many championships. Once you start obfuscating what it takes to become champion and sort of changing that whole, it changes the metrics of the whole league. I'm not into that.
I think you can change it, but not in the middle of the freaking season.
Certainly, that's a
you can't change the rules when the game's ongoing. But I think in general, I'm completely against playoffs in general, man, because you can be like us and have a fucking shit season and then like maybe have a good run like we are having now and get into the top 3 all of a sudden you're in the playoffs and you can win the championship. Like,
I'm not
think
against
it's cool.
playoffs. It's just they have to be a separate. It's got to be separate. Like, I mean, it could be like the cup, right? A cup is essentially the playoffs, right? Like,
Well,
do it separate.
first and foremost, I am completely against playoffs altogether. It's a system that is being used in Belgium now for I don't know, a decade or more than a decade, I think. And it's a system I never liked. I don't think it's a fair system, especially when they have the points, because that allows teams like, for example, Club Brugge, I think have won over the last 10 years probably 3 championships simply because of playoffs. Because they peak in the playoffs. They are, mediocre all season, but they keep up with the number one. They're like 10 points behind or something. And then in the playoffs, they're going to peak, and then they win the championship in the playoff. But then it completely further marginalizes all those other matches, like the 30 or the 34 matches you play in the full season. I think it would completely marginalize all the small clubs in Turkey. Now at least when Beşiktaş, Fenerbahçe, Galatasaray come to Antalya, or they come to Malatya or to Izmir or whatever. Oh, Izmir is a bad example, but like, the cities where when they're playing Sivasspor at home, there's like 5,000 people max in the stadium, but when one of the big teams is there, there'll be like 25,000 people or something like that, those types of clubs, like, I think we've seen in Belgium is that like the stadiums are less full, especially because then they have like the Champions playoff, and then they have like this other playoff for like 8 teams to potentially get a chance at a European ticket. And like that second playoff has like no fans almost. Like nobody comes to those matches. Nobody cares because everyone wants to be in the first playoff. And I just don't think it just, it kind of devalues the entire season.
The rest of the season.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't like the format to begin with. And I think it's completely and utterly unethical to change a competition already in full motion. I think that is completely unacceptable. Also, I think if let's say this happens, to me, that is them further admitting that some weird shit has happened. And that there's corruption, and that because the only reason they did it in 2012 was because of the match fixing scandal. So if they would do it again now, then they're essentially admitting some funny shit went down this season. Yeah. And the team that's at the top of the table probably shouldn't be at the top of the table because they got, I don't know. So to me, that would be admitting that. And now I think
the people who probably love this idea is like Fener, right?
Of course, Fener.
Technically, we should be loving it just now, but me personally, look, see whenever Beşiktaş wins a league title, we always win the league because we played the best football and we're the best team.
And we beat the ref, essentially.
Yep. And I want it to stay that way.
It would be a tainted, like, obviously,
even if
they have the points, the chances of us winning it is like marginal, like almost non-existent. But let's say we would, it would be a tainted champion. It would be our first.
Oh yeah, who would even celebrate that?
Yeah, it would be our first tainted.
Probably.
Our first tainted.
I'd have a beer.
League title. Yeah.
Yeah,
but no,
it's done like an NBA style where it'd be like if it's the top 4, let's say, or the top 8 or whatever, and then it's just basically the only advantage first place gets is they play the bottom seed. Like if you done that, I think that'd be really tempted if we.
But that also completely devalues the rest of the season, though.
No, it does. That's what I'm saying. That'd be the worst case.
Okay.
It's also just like innovation for the sake. Like, is anyone asking for this change? Like, I don't understand.
I think the only reason why it's being floated right now is because there's so much controversy. But like, those I went like Ufumfu just asked, "Am I gonna go on another rant?" But like, it's just those two, man. Like this week again, like. Super fucking toxic. I know you're off Twitter nowadays, Sinan, but like Galatasaray accusing Jose Mourinho of racism and like filing like taking legal action. Now Fener are taking legal action for defamation and stuff like that. Like those two, like at this, like on one hand, it's like a league without them would be kind of boring. But I'm really getting to a point where like, please, can both these clubs just cease to exist? Can they just create their own little Mickey Mouse league and just play each other constantly?
Maybe they can go to that like Super League that they were cooking up.
Maybe take Samsunspor with you because they're owned by Galatasaray, and Eyüpspor because they're owned by Galatasaray, and like, you know, other clubs owned by Fener. So like, what with, you know, with like Fenerbahce and Galatasaray presidents, like take them with you. Let the rest of the country play football. Like, I mean, like, another topic that we should talk about is this whole foreign referee thing. You know, I don't know if you watched the derby, guys, but the referee, I think he was Slovenian, Vuncic, I believe his name, or Vucic or something. He was really good. I thought the ref was really, really good. And I genuinely think if we would have had a European referee, like the Europa League standard ref, Champions League standard ref, we would have had that a ref like that for our match against Galatasaray earlier this season. I'm not saying we win it, but we definitely don't lose that match. And I think if you look at the last...
I still like my idea of just alternating refs to every country. They just move to the nearest country on a cycle, but like, and we just never have the same refs every two seasons.
But see, now they have set a very dangerous precedent, because assigning a foreign referee to this derby essentially is the TFF admitting that Turkish referees are either incompetent or not impartial. So now I think Beşiktaş and Trabzonspor and every other club, really, every time they play Galatasaray or Fenerbahce, and only really when they play Galatasaray and Fenerbahce, because those are the irony of it is that those are the two teams that always consistently, systematically get help by the referees. So the irony is that those two clubs are the ones that got the foreign ref. But we should all now, and Sarah Adala made a statement on this last week already, we talked about that, we should all now be saying, okay, when we play Fenerbahce, I don't care about when we play Antalyaspor and stuff like that. Actually, I do care, because I think refs fuck us all the time, but more importantly in the derbies, I think I never want to see Halil Umut Meler or anyone like that ever again, because they all have colors. They're all colored. So now, I mean, what's gonna happen if we play Galatasaray in a couple of weeks, which we do, and we say, okay, we want a foreign referee, and they say no? What should we do then? Should we say, okay, fuck you then, we don't play?
I think I don't want to not play, because I think we need all the 3 points we can get.
Yeah, of course, but like
but it just
the
puts
TFF,
this weird,
the TFF can't go back on this now, right? Because actually, Galatasaray didn't want the foreign referee. Everyone in Turkey praised the performance of the referee.
Tried to fight it,
except Galatasaray. Okan Buruk said after the match that the
referee
was terrible and that he prefers Turkish refs. Yeah, of course you prefer Turkish refs, fucker. You always get if you watch the game, like Galatasaray were completely out of their element because they couldn't flop all the time and get every single fucking call. And
that's like a rapist in a trial. Like, I prefer judges who also committed rape. But like, yeah, of course you fucking prefer. Like, all right, dude, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. Comments. We've got comments. A lot of comments. Mr. Bayazit, Grey Wolf, despite it most likely not going to occur, thoughts on the suggestion of the playoff model. So they're perfectly queued up. We talked about that. Then NS Demirtas, Solskjaer criticized the team about slowing down after the first goal. At least we know that's not his choice, and he's unhappy about it. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's a general theme that his comments have almost always been pretty spot on after games.
So are Fernando Santos, though.
Say what?
Yeah, Fernando Santos was always spot on with his comments after the games too.
That's true. He wasn't bad. He was a good speaker, good talker.
Yeah, that was about something.
And we mentioned this already, but Grey Wolf said that the Blackburn Rovers have hired Valérien Ismail. Good luck to you.
Yeah, he was a good guy, man. Hopefully he can get his career on track.
Yeah, I actually think if he would get like the chance at like a stable, if that exists, mid-table Turkish club, I think he could do a good job actually. because I think his brand of football would
Like
definitely.
Antalyaspor.
Yeah, I was exactly thinking about Antalyaspor. I think like that brand of football could
Would match.
work quite well with an Antalyaspor.
Yeah.
Not with Beşiktaş though.
And then Finish Kebab says today is the 10-year anniversary of Goodbye Liverpool. Goodbye Liverpool. If you don't know what he's talking about, stay tuned for the end of the episode. Listen up.
Beşiktaş actually posted a video about that as well. I'll need to watch it after the podcast.
Nice. Mario Vargas, yo, what up, Eagles? Good to see you back in the chat, Mario, live. Hayrettin Akgün,
With his
hey, you
fancy
guys.
new emblem behind his name.
Yeah. Supporter. Day one. Ofus Aure. I think Arroyo is ready to start. He's young but seems confident. I would start him versus the teams at the bottom half of the league at least. Yeah, I think that last bit is reasonable. Certainly against weaker opposition.
The question is though, where do you slot him in? Because recently we've been seeing a 3-man midfield with Jetson, Joao Mario, and then either Amir or Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. And ideally, I think we want to see Elan Ricardo there as the third man. And then you have Rafa on one wing and Rashica on the other wing. So the question then becomes, who are you going to bench? Or alternatively, I would say try Rafa as a false 9 and play Rashica and Keny on the wings.
And so Joao Mario's out?
No. The striker is out.
Oh, you've got him.
The striker is out, and Rafa is your false 9.
Oh, you're like doing Barcelona from the 2010.
I mean, Rafa is essentially our striker already anyway, right?
I mean, it's not like Semi provided anything yesterday. Okay, yeah. I mean, but yeah, I think Ofus. I wonder what his real name is. Ofus Aure doesn't seem right. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that. But yeah, certainly against a weaker opposition, he should certainly be playing. But I mean, yeah, I'd like to see him be. I'd like to see him play more.
See him play more too. It's just that Rashica has been picking up his form recently, and maybe that's also a result of him knowing that competition was coming in. You know, maybe that has spurred on some competitiveness in him.
Yeah, hopefully. Which is kind of what we were talking about at various stages of season 2. A big part of having depth isn't so much like, oh, now we have a better player at that position, but it's you've got someone pushing that guy to be better. Yeah, I don't know what has Masuaku playing better because it's clearly not that. We did not bring in anyone to challenge him there for that position. But yeah, I mean, that was what we were saying, I think, about him for a time. Anyway, Mario Vargas, no sound from Carta. Oh, yeah, we resolved that. Thank you for anyone. Yeah, and don't hold back on comments like that. They are typically quite helpful. So thank you again, Mario.
I fortunately noticed rather quickly this time. But
I think you noticed before he commented.
Sometimes I don't even notice it for like 5 minutes. So, 5 minutes. Until somebody says it. So it's definitely... It's
don't
always,
hesitate, folks. Any constructive criticism, bring it.
Shout.
And even beyond that, right? If you feel like someone's volume is too high or... whatever. Hayrettin, we already kind of addressed this, but he said, do you think that Mucci would be a better choice to set a gameplay for Beşiktaş? Rafa is getting there, but not enough, I believe.
I want to hear your guys' opinion on that, because I answered
That's surprising. I didn't even read it, because I was like, oh, it's not time for the comments. Rafa's not enough. That never really resonates with me. Khan! Whoa! We have a new Khan! There could be only one.
Ooh.
See if you said this like before Ollie came, before when Rafa was in his low. I mean, I could see why maybe he could make that comment, but I don't see how you can make that comment about someone that's had 9 goal contributions in the last 7 games.
Yeah, the day after, like perhaps his most glorious goal yet. I don't know. We don't agree. Sorry, pal. Yeah, you guys should put the Spider-Man GIF, I guess, or is that a GIF or a meme? I don't know. No, I guess not a GIF. It's not animated. Anyway,
it's a meme.
The meme. Yeah, throw up the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah.
Hayrettin. That would be amazing to face with Galatasaray, so we can beat them. I don't know if that's in regards to maybe playing Mucci rather than Rafa. I disagree. Even more so. Certainly need Rafa against Galatasaray.
What was that?
Perhaps that was more related to something else we'd already moved on. He said that would be amazing. Hayrettin, who said after the Mucci should play instead of Rafa. I said that would be amazing to face with Galatasaray, so we can beat them. There it is. The two cons. Or this is like a time travel scenario, and Khan is like, what? Khan back in time to watch us live, so he could have the experience. Anyway, that would be amazing to face with. Maybe in Heidetin's defense, maybe he was talking about something that we'd already moved on to in the conversation. Sally,
I'd argue with Khan here. I'd say that Mucci's almost a second striker as well.
Yeah, I've wanted to see Mucci play striker for a while, to be honest.
Yeah. It's a good shout.
Sally says buy low, sell high. That's what
actually
economics is all about.
Mucci as a striker could actually work quite well, because part of what I was thinking when I was saying Rafa as a false nine, I think Rafa does benefit a lot from not being the only guy there, if that makes sense, especially when Ciro is playing. Like, I think we've been critical of Ciro lately, and rightfully so, and people online are being very critical of Ciro, and Ciro definitely isn't adding what he should be adding. He should be scoring goals. But I still think that from all the players we have, strikers we have right now, Ciro is the only one that actually creates space for Rafa effectively and consistently. And I do think Rafa plays better when Ciro's on the pitch, because he gets room and pockets to dive into. And if you're going to play him as a false nine and you don't have that lightning rod, you don't have that striker in the middle pulling defenders away and pulling holes in the defense, Rafa could become more ineffective. So actually playing Mucci as a striker and keeping Rafa in his position where he is now in that free role is also very interesting, because then you don't lose the lightning rod. And if you lose the lightning rod, I think you have the danger of Rafa getting double, triple teamed all the time, and then maybe he doesn't find those spaces in behind all the time.
Yeah. We have more chats on that subject. Let me get to them quickly. If Biden wasn't much better, to be fair, he meant than Trump, I suppose. We already talked about that, but yeah, I mean, Biden has been sent out to pasture. I think, he's taking a nap as we speak. One imagines. I mean, in his defense, he did pretty good job delegating, getting pretty good bureaucrats, but yeah, he didn't do anything. He's a snooze fest. NS Demirtaş again. I still have no idea how Rafa didn't play in a higher level team. He's got unique skills. It is a bit of a question mark how, besides Benfica, you would have. I mean, I guess because he stuck with Benfica probably a little too long. I imagine he probably could have gotten a move up to the Premier League, at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was out of loyalty or, I mean, he was performing really well on a team that regularly does get pretty far into Europe. So it's not like he sacrificed his career or anything like that, but I think he did sacrifice the opportunity.
I think he sacrificed earning potential because he was only on like $2.5 million a year, I think.
Khan, you're muted. You're muted.
I'm not anymore, but I was. But yeah, I think once you're, to reiterate what I said, I think once you're 30 and you're still in Portugal and you don't have like the Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Di Maria, Casemiro name, I think you're not going to get a Premier League move. And yeah, he definitely probably stayed a little bit too long at Benfica. He was there for 8 years, so he was there since he was like 23, 24. Ideally, he probably should have played there for like 3 seasons and then moved. There were, like, throughout his career, plenty of links with the Premier League, but yeah, it just never materialized. Which is weird, because I think he's definitely a player, like, if you look, like, I think he's so much better than some of the players that have had that move to the Premier League from Portugal,
For sure. I mean, I think of, like, Gonçalo Inácio, who I remember thinking, oh, like we could probably get him someday, you know. And then he ended up. Did he go to Man U or something? I mean, like a lot of sort of middling guys who were just younger.
Wolves had a very, or maybe still has a very big Portuguese contingent, but maybe Wolves, like, you know, Wolves are a relatively small club. Like, maybe that wasn't appealing to him. Maybe the big offers from like Man United or something didn't come. I don't know, but like it's weird to. But,
maybe
you know,
he's a guy who enjoys being like a talisman for a club, you know, like a Benfica, maybe even a sort of a Beşiktash, you know, where he's like, you know, they have a crazy fan base and he can perform like under pressure and with the spotlight on him.
You know, if Alain Saint-Maximin and Adama Traore can go to the Premier League for big money, then why wouldn't Rafa Silva? He has similar attributes in terms of speed, not the physicality, but he also, you know, those two players also get into, especially Adama Traore gets in a lot of goal scoring positions and misses a lot. He's a bad finisher. You know, when we were harkening back to what we were talking about earlier, like I think Adama Traore is somebody who is not a good finisher. I think Rafa is above average finisher.
Yeah, I mean, Rafa's got great end product. Those two other guys you mentioned lack end product.
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying it's weird to me that Rafa never got the chance, because those two,
a little weird.
You know, so it's, you know, I mean, you could say like, okay, maybe they're looking at Rafa and they're saying, oh, you know, his conversion rate isn't great, or maybe it's just a case of Benfica was always asking way too much money for him. Maybe they were asking 65 million euros or something, and teams just didn't want to pay that, especially as he was approaching 30. You know,
it's hard for me to believe that. I mean, just watching him for the 6 months or whatever it's been, 7 months, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that anyone could have watched this guy and thought like he's not good enough for whatever level. You know, I mean, whatever. We shouldn't harp on it too much, but it's our. I hope someday that maybe we can bring him on air and interview him. I don't know how his English is, but I wish, like, that's what journalists should be asking people rather than some of the bullshit questions they do about how'd you sleep yesterday before the big match? Like, shut the fuck up.
I think if you put 3 zeros behind our current subscriber number, maybe then.
Let's do it. Or we got to get Atiba first, and then the dominoes will fall into place. Anyway, moving back to the chat. Sort of TV chat. We'll get past that. Finish kebab. Playoffs. Hell no. Those are for one league promotion, but that Belgian League Championship group system is quite good. Office Aure says, agreed. It's a very unfair if you are 20 points behind and still can win the league. Also, I believe, and granted, I think if they cut your points in half, then you can kind of minimize stuff like that.
I think Club Brugge last season were 12 points behind Union, and they became champions. Because Union started the playoffs super bad, and then Brugge ended up winning the championship on a disallowed goal.
And they cut the points in half?
Yeah, they cut the
points. Like a 12-point gap became a
12 became 6, so suddenly you go from...
Shit.
12 points is a very good
You're
lead.
Out of reach.
Yeah, 12 is a great lead, and then suddenly you that gets reduced to two losses, and you're out, and your advantage is completely gone. So I think Union last season started the playoffs with 3 straight losses. So,
think about the significance that places on the January transfer window too, right? Because if you could bring in talent and fresh legs, and interesting. Interesting.
Everyone was talking about that actually. That in like Hungary and in like lower leagues, like and in Turkey as well, like where they have playoff systems. Some teams just chill out like 70% of the season. Then January or like the transfer window comes, they buy 11 new players, and then suddenly the playoffs they go full out. Like
that's the NBA with the playoffs. Like everyone's at this point, we're just checking our calendar for when the playoffs are going to start. It's like just stay healthy and make it to the playoffs. We'll be fine from here.
Yeah, I think Aurelian mentioned that in Switzerland, Zurich tend to do that. Like they chill the entire season, and then for the playoffs they peak. And that's the same. That's what I said about Club Brugge as well.
Crazy.
Look at Club Brugge right now. They're like I don't know how many points behind Genk they are right now, but like I think they're 9 points behind Genk right now. Oof. The problem is like they're that doesn't matter, those 9 points, because they get cut in half.
A 4-point gap. 5 point gap.
I think it becomes a 4-point gap, but Genk get like a +1. So if they end on like level points, Genk will always be champions.
That's interesting.
But
interesting.
yeah, it's just not.
I mean, at least it's innovative, I guess, which is whoever, when
It's,
someone was complimenting
yeah,
it earlier.
but like I say, man, it completely devalues the rest of the season.
yeah, I don't like it. I mean, make it something else. Make it there be like a league champion and then like a playoff champion. Like if you need entertainment value or TV ratings or whatever the hell they're allowed to give.
That's the argument, right?
Else.
Like you get the strongest teams, probably the strongest teams in the league to play each other. But like for example, this season, let's say we go to playoffs right now, and it's like the top 6. Like Trabzonspor aren't even in it, and Trabzonspor is like the traditional number 4. You know, so like in Belgium that happens all the time. Like Anderlecht doesn't make it, Gent doesn't make it, Standaard doesn't make it, Genk doesn't make it. You know, there's always somebody missing out.
Even us, right? Like we would go into this in much better footing than we should be on, right? Because we're in good form. We have a new coach. Morale's high. You know, locker room is fixed, kind of, or it seems like it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's almost unfair if we come into a tournament like that with a chance to win the championship, because you're erasing the months of dysfunction and the terrible decision making and the backroom politics and all the garbage that ultimately, cumulatively, makes for what might end up as like a sort of mediocre season with like a silver lining, right? Which is what it should be. Like if you look at the full product. Anyway, back to the comments. Thankfully, Ole is a calm. So this is Ofus Aure again. Thankfully, Ole is a calm and reasonable manager who focuses on improving Beşiktaş and doesn't contribute to the drama. I that must have been in relation to the Galatasaray, referee stuff with Mourinho and all that.
Yeah.
Finished
twice now has said that like he so far has been very happy with the officiating, so he has no problems with Turkish referees. He says.
Oh, and speaking of whoever it was that complimented the Belgian system, I think it was Finished Kebab, because then he writes, "Forget what I said about the Belgian league. I just checked and forgot that they even cut 50% point collected after regular season, but relegation playoffs I support."
Yes.
Which they have in Germany and France.
Yes.
Yeah, for relegation it's another conversation.
Yeah, relegation playoffs I fully support. Promotion playoffs other than the champion, I think the champion should always promote. But I'm 100% in favor. Like for example, if you do playoffs for European tickets, that could change a little bit. I think like I could be swayed for that. I don't think a champion should ever be decided with the playoffs. I think the champion should be the team at the top of the table at the end of the season. The only way you can go for a playoff in that scenario, I think if 2 teams finish level, like we did with Galatasaray, then I think like in Belgium we had this before the playoffs, or was it even during the playoffs? I don't even remember. But Standaard and Anderlecht in like 2008 or something, they finished level. And they had like the same head-to-head, same goal differential or something. I don't know. Anyway, all the metrics were the same. So they had to play test matches. So then they had to play each other twice. And the winner of that on aggregate became the champion. I think that's, for me, the only justifiable reason. I don't even think like... I don't know how you guys feel about it, but like goal differential, matches won. I think the only thing that should decide a championship is head-to-head. I don't think goal differential and stuff like that is necessarily fair because, I
mean, that's at least more of a conversation.
I'd much rather than see those 2 teams play each other again. Like in a final, like if their head-to-head is the same, let them play like 1 match, neutral ground, kind of like a cup final, decide the champion. I would be okay with something like that, but not with a playoff system.
Yeah, I mean, let's not get too off topic, but that whatever. Next, the Vigilante Turk. Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Shouts to you with the eagle emoji. Drop it. The Vigilante Khan. Hi guys, first time caught you on live. Rafa does not play as a playmaker, rather his role is the second striker. Mucci is the alternative for Mario in the current system. I mean, my only argument against that, Khan, is that for the longest time, Mucci's main contributions were goals and even bangers, right? He wasn't. Like all this fancy footwork and the stuff that we've been seeing these last couple of months has not necessarily been the standard for much of his time with Beşiktaş. So, I mean, sure, if you look at his like most recent outings and his sort of rise in form since Ole arrived, I think, sure, you look at the footwork and the stuff he's doing, on the ball and also the finishing. He's, contributing still there. But the majority of his tenure has been mostly him taking shots from like the outside of the box, and
He's
so
not,
I don't know if
really
that's necessarily.
Yeah, like I think what Khan says is true about Rafa. Rafa is more a second striker than he is an actual playmaker 10. But Mucci, also from what we've seen so far from Mucci in 13 months or so, I don't think Mucci is a typical playmaker either. You know, I mean, we've rarely seen him give like splitting passes, great through ball, stuff like that. Like he's also more like a second striker. Who's typing, by the way?
Yeah, I thought that was you.
No.
It's definitely not me.
Must be Katan.
So we know the answer. There's only one left. Double Spider-Man meme is hilarious. Grey Wolf standing on no extension for Arthur. Check out our short, by the way, and shouts to Yasin, who's putting these shorts together. He did a fun one with our little discussion of Arthur Masuaku, whether or not we should keep him.
That's a clip, eh? It's not a short, it's like a video.
Yeah,
a 7-minute video. Yeah.
Clip.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe my vernacular is off.
We're stealing the Joe Rogan podcast format where we take like sections of our 2-hour show and we post them in like 15 minutes.
Little bits and
exactly.
bobs.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair,
I think I've seen that with other shows.
Yeah. I think it's a great format. It was a great idea, I think.
Yeah. Shouts to you, Yasin, by the way. Khan says he's not typing either. So the past version or the future Khan isn't typing.
Yeah. I mean,
Office Aure. By the way, shouts to you, all you first-time commenters out there coming in and hitting up the group chat. We'd love to see it. Office Aure says, any chance Beşiktaş can find other players from Portugal? May still be underrated players there. I'm sure there's a ton, but
I think the Portuguese market is so locked down by the local giants, Benfica,
and Wolverhampton.
But like for example, Serginho, who we were interested in this January, he came from Benfica.
That would have been a good
and
one.
like so. What I'm saying is actually not true. You can definitely find talent in a country like Portugal. The problem is, I think, with like for example, like a Serginho type. I think the problem there is that that's a diamond that like Beşiktaş should, like for example, take Keny Arroyo. Keny Arroyo is a diamond that we are going to have to polish, but he already has a certain level of polish that hopefully makes him good enough to already play for Beşiktaş. I think with a Serginho type, like if you look at Keny, like if you check out our interview with Martin Benitez, or you just watched him in this 45 minutes against Antalya, there's already a certain tactical discipline in that player, or this sort of maturity that Cathal was referring to earlier as well. Like there's already that there. And with Serginho, from my talk with the local journalist there in Viborg, Danny Christensen, he said that when Serginho first came in, like he wasn't doing all the defensive duties and stuff like that. That is stuff he had to learn in his first year. And I think when you're talking those types of talents in Portugal, where they definitely can be good enough for Beşiktaş in like maybe a year or so, they still need that honing, that polishing. So then you go into a scenario where we would go and buy, for example, a Serginho early, but then we are in a situation where he's not yet good enough to play for Beşiktaş, so then we have to go and loan him out or something. So then you run into, again, something I have said so many times already, but we are really in a need for a second club that we own, whether it's
to develop, guys.
Yeah, to develop. So, I think hopefully that is a model we are going to evolve into if we become financially more stable, and hopefully that's something that Serra Adala is considering, because I really think that if you look at the Belgian clubs, if you look at the Dutch clubs, the Portuguese clubs, like that is the Spanish clubs, like that model of having a second team in the Keny League, the Birinci League, whatever, like the second division, the third division, is something that is really, really good for developing both academy players, but also young players you sign, or 18-year-olds and stuff like that. And that is something I think we need if we want to become more serious about signing young players from Portugal, Ecuador, Colombia, doesn't matter. Then I think we in the long run, probably have to go to a formula where we have a second club where we can put players for a year or two to develop, including our own academy players.
Yeah. Next up, Grey Wolf. Perhaps the TFF feels the only way to force change with refs and external interference is opening the doors for foreign refs and suggesting playoffs. Yeah. Hopefully not the latter, but I definitely don't mind the foreign ref thing. I feel like we should just make that regular.
Yeah, I wonder what this
normalize it.
I wonder what this is doing to the Turkish refs, because like for so many years,
I hope it's giving them something to reflect on. Honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Like for decades, they have been systematically pushing two teams. Both Galatasaray more so than anyone else, but both Fenerbahce and Galatasaray have both been systematically pushed by the refs, by the federation, for decades now. And I wonder if this, like, for the refs becomes like a moment of, okay, maybe we, like...
Have we gone too far? Are we the baddies?
Maybe we need to stop giving them so much, like, you know, like I was watching the derby the other day, and you just know that if it was a Turkish referee, there would have been 10 yellow cards already, and there would have been 27 free kicks. Like every time a Galatasaray player feels the warm breath of an opponent in his back, I don't know, there was a certain moment where I think it might have been Osimhen, where like he feels Skriniar, and he already goes down super theatrically, and it's like, I've said this before, but like Galatasaray are like proper trained on diving, like, and not just in the penalty area, all over the pitch. They flop like crazy. It's ridiculous. Fenerbahce don't.
There's also funny seeing Torreira get called for fouls and him being so like mystified. What, you call these types of things now?
Yeah, I mean, like it's no coincidence. I saw a stat the other day. Galatasaray have, I mean, I'm not sure if it's correct, because these sorts of stat gets posted on Twitter all the time, and like they get like, you know, they're not correct and stuff like that. But like 153 Super League games or something, and like 1 red card maybe or something for Galatasaray, and then like 48 or 38 European matches and 8 red cards. It's like, and it's not like Galatasaray doesn't have moments where they should be getting played. Like, I think you can, in this season alone, mention like 10 matches in which one of their players could have easily gotten 2 yellow cards. But because the first yellow card either doesn't even happen in the case of Torreira, or it happens in like minute 75 instead of minute 7, yeah, they can do whatever the fuck they want. And then you have, like in our games, Masuaku does one thing and he gets a yellow card straight away, and then he has to be careful for the entire game. Like, those are small things, but they add up, and that is all part of the systematic pushing of those two. Fenerbahce don't get as much, I feel. I feel like Galatasaray are always way more heavily favorited, but also Fenerbahce, they put so much pressure on referees. Like the last couple of seasons, the amount of penalties they've gotten. This season, it's not so bad. This season, other than one penalty, I think, against Göztepe, like I feel like Fener didn't really get that much controversial calls. But like the last 2 seasons before that, the amount of ridiculous penalties they got as well. It's just all media pressure, and yeah, it's ridiculous.
I'm grateful to everyone except glad to say praise the ref. Yeah, we mentioned that. Khan says, are you guys going to follow the upcoming General Financial Congress of the club? I can't speak for Khan, but I'm guessing you're going to want to check out our Patreon, because Khan has a tendency of covering just about everything lately. He says Malheiro is an example for that, an example of a Portuguese player that plays great for Trabzon.
He's okay.
And then he says, I don't know how much you guys are familiar with the issues, but promoting teams, especially Galatasaray, is not merely a referee problem, but rather a political one,
yes,
and has been for over 30 years. And my advice to you, Khan, is check out our last episode. Your counterpart here, Khan, went on a lengthy rant regarding, that's what Ufunfu was talking. Was that last episode or 2 episodes ago?
I don't remember. I think it was 2 episodes or 3 episodes ago, yeah. Maybe Yasin should clip that little rant and make it into a separate video.
Yeah, there you go. Yasin, if you want a little homework assignment for you. But so we are aware. We've put up some questionable images on air before of certain political figures with certain football figures. We've run the whole gamut. As
Have
far
we
as,
put those images up? I don't remember. I remember responding to somebody with an image like that.
During was that in the group chat? Maybe that was in the group chat for
in
Nasty.
the group chat, yeah. With some idiots of a certain club posting like a print screen of UEFA bans. So I just responded with a picture of a certain football player eating certain bread with a certain cleric. He didn't reply.
And don't apologize, Kanye. Says sorry if I'm pushing so many messages. Just got to catch you guys live.
Keep
No,
it coming,
it's
man.
great to
Keep
have
it
you.
coming, yeah.
We welcome all these comments. It's great. And no, we don't mean to like brush aside what you're saying. It's just that we've recently covered this subject fairly in depth, to the extent that Khan's getting trolled about it in the comments by Ufunfu.
To answer
just check it out.
The financial thing, by the way, like I'm going to defer to our house expert, Carlito, who is really like he's really the financial brain, the
financier.
Tomorrow, me and him are going to talk about the audit. And when there's hopefully if he has the time and if he's up for it, if the financial congress. We'll talk about that as well, because like I used to, when I still had the Beşiktaş International website, I used to, every time there was like a report, like the financial report came out, I used to like do an article on and stuff like that. But really, like, it's not my wheelhouse. Like, I'm not in the finance world or anything like that. Ural is. He's in the middle of the, Carlito's in the middle of the finance world. He works in the banking sector, so he knows this stuff really, really well. So he's the expert. So I'll be talking to him tomorrow about the audit, and then hopefully in the future as well about the financial reports and all that kind of stuff. So we will be talking about it for sure.
Yeah. And so, alas, the time has come where we've reached our final message in the group chat, in the comment section rather. We've covered our match, our most recent match, I should say. A successful victory against Antalyaspor, ensuring that we will go to the quarterfinals of the National Cup and have home field advantage, which is great news for us and could be quite valuable, in fact. Our next match is this coming Saturday. We're going to be hosting Kayserispor at 12:30 here locally, so I believe that means 7:30 or no, maybe 8:30 in Turkey.
8:30 in Turkey, 6:30 here.
So 6:30 for UConn, and 5:30 for UCartal.
Yeah, exactly.
But so back to normal lunchtime watching for me. No more Beşiktaş breakfast with Beşiktaş. Yeah, this 7 a.m. thing with Antalyaspor was a little bit much.
I enjoyed it, man.
There was a lull though, like in the sort of early second half, and I was really struggling. I think I had like 4 coffees for this.
I timed out my day perfectly, man. I woke up at 5 a.m, worked out, then saw the kid off to school. Then I took a nap, and then I woke up, cleaned the house, and then when I was finished, it was 1:45. Like 50 minutes before the kickoff, so it was perfectly timed out. So I was very chuffed with that.
I'm like not a morning guy. I'm very much. We've talked about this in the group chat, but so like I had to. Usually, I'm the one who's woken up to like take care of any sort of morning stuff I have to take care of. So everyone woke up in the house to see me sitting in the living room watching Beşiktaş with just shock in their faces, like, "What are you doing here?" So I got to be like a good dad, I suppose. Although I was watching Beşiktaş, so partially good dad. But so yeah, back to normal on Saturday. So tune in. We'll be back. I mean, probably Monday. Usually it's Monday, although sometimes we break convention and we go live right after the match or whatever it may be. So stay tuned. We'll give you all updates. We'll always give people notifications. Obviously, follow, subscribe us here on YouTube. Also check out our Patreon. And the main reason for you to check out our Patreon is that we, through there, you can gain access to our WhatsApp group chat. And there, especially, for sure, you'll be updated as far as, we're going live, folks. Like, brace yourselves. Buckle in. Buckle your seatbelts. tables in their stowaway position, all that. But so yeah, we'll be back soon. Any final comments from you fellas?
Yeah, go and check out. Become a member on YouTube. Click the join button. Become a member. You get some fancy badges next to your name. You get some cool emojis to use in the chat. I'll be adding a second rank in the future as well, so that you gain like early access to videos and stuff like that. But for now, the only way to get early access to videos, the only way to get the VIP podcast is on patreon.com/Beşiktaş podcast for just $1.99 a month. And if you want to join us on YouTube, become a Black Eagle Hatchling, it's 99 cents. But the price for the second tier will be a little bit higher than that. To even it out with Patreon. But if you...
Shouts Khan, he said he's going to check it out. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
And to you, Ofus. Thanks to everyone for logging in, for chatting.
Yeah.
Kartal, parting words.
So we're back. Well, Beşiktaş are back at 5:30 on Saturdays. Sinan just stated. Hopefully it's another win. That'll make it our fourth win consecutively in the league, and also our sixth consecutive win in all competitions if we can win, of course. So I want to see us keep going, man. Hopefully we win on Saturday, and then after that, hopefully
I think we have a bye week.
As well.
Did we already have our bye week?
Yeah, we have.
So we have back-to-back home games now. We have Kayseri, and then next week we have Gaziantep, and then I think we have
Konya
away, and then we have Galatasaray at home. So
have they scheduled Gaziantep yet?
I want to see us win every single game until we get to Galatasaray, and hopefully win that one.
I want to see us win every single one, including that one. That one more so than any other. Yeah, of course. We have to beat those bastards.
I think it's crucial that we win all the games in the build-up to it, so that we've got very, very high morale going into that game.
Yeah, let's hope they don't suspend half our team like they tend to for derbies.
Maybe we can get a foreign ref.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's get a foreign ref.
So yeah, they have yet to schedule the Gaziantep match. They're all like Sunday at 1:30 now on the schedule. So I'm assuming
they're so tardy with that, man. Like it's horrible for people trying to plan trips.
I hate it.
Imagine you're going you want to do like a city trip, like a weekend city trip. You want to go?
Yeah, if you're from like Erzurum or whatever.
And like you're going on Friday and then like leaving Sunday night, and then they like decide to put the match on Sunday or something instead of Saturday. Like that has happened. Like matches have been like on Saturdays, and then they suddenly move them like with like 2 or 3 days notice. Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a joke, man. It's really hard to plan a weekend trip to Istanbul if you want to catch it, man, because the schedule is normally done like a week in advance at best, man.
I mean, the TFF is, I think, like the definition of just a poorly managed institution. It's a damn shame, honestly.
You know, when there's no European matches. And even when there is European matches, I think you can already plan around that in advance because you know those dates of those games already. Like Europa League games, you always know they're gonna be on a Thursday, sometimes on a Wednesday.
You can book those like months in advance.
If a team is active in Europe, give them a Sunday game. You know,
but how hard is it to make a schedule that people follow?
Yeah,
come on,
it's not rocket science. Now that Galatasaray are out of Europe, you can just give them every Saturday match, and then you can give Beşiktaş a Friday match or something, and then you give Fenerbahçe the Sunday match because they're still in Europe. It's not difficult, you know. Like this past weekend, because Galatasaray and Fenerbahçe were playing each other on Monday. I think on Saturday, not a single big team played because we played on Friday, Trabzon played on Sunday. And Saturday was like such a boring day, like for a neutral.
Yeah.
Like if you're not like an absolute maniac who loves Turkish football and tries to watch every Super League game, like Saturday was a match where you don't even turn on your television. Like
I think they were airing like at Rizespor or something.
Yeah. I actually did watch because I think was it Rize against Samsun.
I think so.
Which was a great game, by the way, because Samsun were 2-0 up.
And it's like not even. You know, you look at the table, it's not like a terrible match. It's just
it's just,
you know, you have 3 days on the weekend basically. You have 3 big teams. Like you want again, right? Management. Like their job is to get high TV ratings so the league teams can earn money.
poor Trabzonspor, you keep discriminating against them.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's funny because like my family is like theoretically from the Black Sea, but
Oof. But
we're done with that.
Are you from Trabzon, or are you from Samsun, or are you?
No, they're from like Kastamonu, so it's it's a little bit of distance. Right. Anyway, that's it. Let's bring the sucker out. Brace yourselves. We have new listeners, so I feel like I'm gonna give everyone the jump scare for those of you who are listening for the first time. But here you go. You ready? Let's go, Beşiktaş!
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Out. Everybody will be back to talk Kayserispor. But of course, first, shouts to the OGs. Ozkan Zerzavatski, Atilgan, the Bull Malak, Paul O'Connor, make yourself known, sir. Nathan, Mr. Colorado Davis, Finish Kebab, Finish Kebab. Tristan Cray, Michael Barry, Jara the Irishman Henty, Mario 1 and a 2 and a 3, Vargas, Niall Tariq, Sebastian, the not sporting director, Heinert, the vigilante Turk himself, Nasser, and you, sir, come join us here permanently. You only need one club, and of course, the indomitable, the indubitable, indefatigable, the Dutch Eagle himself. Shout out, everyone. See you next time.